Okay, so welcome to Live Music Level Up, the show where I'm trying to teach you how to take better photos of your friends' bands to make them look cooler than they actually are. So basically, today's lesson, the idea is what settings can I put my camera in so that way I can get the best bang for my buck. So the most good shots from a gig without too much effort, like something that's just going to work in the scenario, because auto mode isn't quite going to cut it in gigs because it's too dark and the camera doesn't know what the hell to do. So basically, I have tested this. I've gave these settings to a mate of mine, and he's never shot gigs before. It was his first concert. He used a Canon 650D with a nifty 50 lens, and these are the results he got using these settings. So I'll show you those up on the screen. Look, it does work. I have tested it. Yeah, obviously, just don't share the ones that aren't good. Or if you do, don't tag me in them. So the first thing we're going to do is set our file format to RAW or RAW plus JPEG. So if you're too scared of RAW and you want to have some JPEGs just in case, set it to RAW plus JPEG. If you're fully comfortable editing RAW photos, set it to RAW. Cool. First step done. The second step is we're going to change the metering mode of our camera to center weighted. And this will make more sense later, but basically it just means that it's going to judge the center of the frame for what is a correct exposure and ignore sort of the outsides, which most likely due to a gig are going to be dark. So you're going to aim at your subject, hold half press the shutter, then it'll meter for the person in the middle. And then if you need to reframe, you can move it and then press the shutter down. And then that'll give you the right exposure. So that's the process we're going to use. So that's pretty easy so far. Next step is we're going to switch the camera, and is like the dramatic music. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to set it to manual mode. Okay? And you'll be like, oh, Jordy, why the hell are you setting it to manual mode if you've already put the thing to center weighted? Won't that just not do anything? Yes, it won't. So basically, by switching it to manual mode, the metering center weighted does nothing now until we change something. So we're going to change some things. But first up, let's just bear with me. I'll tell you the settings. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to set our shutter speed to 1/200. You can go higher if you need to, lower if you need to, but not by too much. Anything lower than that, you're going to get too much motion blur. 1/125 is okay. You can get by with it, but 1/200 is pretty good. Anything below that, it's going to be too much motion blur unless you literally after that effect. Okay, so shutter speed, about 1/200. Aperture, as low as it'll go. So if you have a lens that goes down to 1.8, put it on 1.8. Ideally, you want 2.8 or lower. So f2.8 is like a good starting point. Anything above that, you're going to struggle and have to raise your ISO more. Now, the ISO setting, this is where the metering modes come in. So the center weighted metering is going to determine what ISO our camera is set to. So what we're going to do is set our ISO in a range, not to a fixed amount. We're going to set it to the bottom of the range at 400, and then the maximum of the range, depending on what your lowest f-stop on your camera is. If you've got an f2.8 lens or lower, you can set the max at like 3200. If you need the extra ISO, 6400 is probably what I would push it up to. You can go a little bit higher if you want, but you don't want to go too high. Like 6400 is probably my upper limit for most gigs, depending on your camera though. Like if your camera is really good in low light, just boost it up to like whatever. Like if it's like an FX3, you're fine. And then that's it. That's pretty much all the settings. So you've got aperture as low as it'll go, shutter speed 1/200, center weighted metering, and then an ISO in a range from 400 to 6400. And then that's it. Go to a gig, shoot the photos, come back. Hopefully they're all in focus. I didn't tell you about focusing modes. Probably just put it on like the servo one, continuous autofocus. It's probably your best bet. But if you're struggling, manual might actually be better in this case if it's an older camera. Those are all the settings I would recommend. And yeah, good luck shooting. Hopefully you get some decent results. Hopefully the venue doesn't use all red lights, so you have to change it to black and white anyway. Every time.